In the bustling city of Maplewood, where the skyline was dotted with gleaming hospitals and healthcare facilities, a new chapter was about to unfold at St. Michael's Hospital. Among its many dedicated staff members was a nurse named Dr. Maya Johnson, a name that would soon resonate throughout the hospital corridors for reasons beyond her initial role. Dr. Johnson was not just any nurse. She was a highly skilled and compassionate healthcare professional who had dedicated over a decade to nursing. Her journey began in a small town where she grew up watching her mother, a nurse herself, care for patients with unwavering dedication. Inspired by her mother's commitment to service, Maya pursued a career in healthcare, earning her nursing degree with honors. However, as a black woman in a predominantly white medical environment, Maya faced challenges that often went unnoticed by those around her. Despite her qualifications and experience, she often found herself overlooked during team meetings and discussions. Colleagues would frequently speak over her or dismiss her ideas without consideration. It was as if her voice was muffled by an invisible barrier that seemed insurmountable. Maya's day-to-day life at St. Michael's was filled with hard work and determination. She arrived early each morning, donning her scrubs with pride as she prepared for another day of caring for patients. Her patients adored her. They appreciated her gentle demeanor and the way she took the time to listen to their concerns. Yet within the staff room, things were different. Whispers circulated about who would be the next chief surgeon, and Maya's name rarely came up. One afternoon, while preparing for her shift in the break room, Maya overheard a conversation between two doctors discussing the upcoming promotion for chief surgeon. "I hear they're looking for someone with extensive surgical experience," one doctor remarked dismissively. "I doubt they'd consider anyone from nursing." The other chuckled in agreement, reinforcing the notion that nurses were merely support staff rather than integral members of the surgical team. Maya felt a familiar sting of frustration, but chose to focus on what she could control, her patient care. She understood that actions often spoke louder than words, and that every day presented an opportunity to prove herself through diligence and compassion. As weeks passed, Maya continued to excel in her role. She took on extra shifts and volunteered for challenging assignments, gradually earning respect from some of her colleagues, who began to recognize her expertise. However, this acknowledgement was limited. Many still viewed her through the lens of their biases. One evening, during a particularly busy shift in the emergency department, chaos erupted when multiple trauma cases arrived simultaneously. The team scrambled to triage patients effectively, and amidst the frenzy, it became clear that they needed someone with surgical expertise on hand immediately. Maya stepped forward instinctively. She had been trained in trauma care and had assisted in surgeries during her nursing career. "I can help stabilize these patients," she asserted confidently. The attending physician hesitated, but eventually relented as time was of the essence. With focused precision, Maya guided the team through critical assessments and interventions. Her calm demeanor under pressure shone through as she directed nurses and medical students with authority and clarity. For those moments, it became evident that she was not just a nurse, she was a leader. After the crisis subsided and patients were stabilized, several staff members approached Maya with newfound respect in their eyes. "You really handled that well," one resident admitted sheepishly. "I didn't realize how much you knew." Maya smiled graciously, but knew this acknowledgement was just a small step toward breaking down the barriers that had long existed. Despite these small victories, Maya remained acutely aware of the systemic challenges within the hospital culture. She often reflected on how deeply ingrained biases could overshadow talent and capability. Each day felt like an uphill battle against stereotypes that seemed unyielding. As fate would have it, change was on the horizon for St. Michael's Hospital, a change that would challenge perceptions and redefine leadership within its walls. Workplace dynamics. As the weeks turned into months at St. Michael's Hospital, Dr. Maya Johnson continued to navigate the complexities of her role as a nurse within a system that often marginalized her contributions. While she had gained some respect from a few colleagues, the overall atmosphere remained fraught with tension and unspoken biases. Maya's days were filled with patient care, but the underlying dynamics of the hospital were becoming increasingly apparent. The staff room, once a place of camaraderie, felt more like a battleground where unspoken prejudices lingered in the air. Conversations often revolved around surgical techniques and medical advancements, yet Maya found herself on the periphery, her insights frequently overlooked. One afternoon, during a departmental meeting intended to discuss patient outcomes and improvement strategies, Maya prepared herself to contribute. She had compiled data on patient recovery rates and had identified several areas where nursing interventions could significantly enhance outcomes. As she sat at the table with her colleagues, doctors and other nurses, she felt a familiar knot of anxiety in her stomach. The head surgeon, Dr. Roberts, initiated the discussion with a focus on surgical protocols. "We need to ensure our surgical teams are performing at their best," he stated firmly, glancing around the room. "Any thoughts on how we can improve our efficiency?" Maya raised her hand tentatively, her heart racing. "I believe that enhancing communication between nursing staff and surgeons could lead to better patient outcomes," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "For instance, implementing regular briefings before surgeries could help align our efforts." A murmur of agreement rippled through some of the nurses present, but Dr. Roberts quickly dismissed her suggestion. "That's an interesting point, Maya," he said with a hint of condescension. "But we need to focus on surgical techniques rather than nursing protocols." The room fell silent as Maya felt the weight of his words settle heavily upon her. After the meeting, one of her fellow nurses, Sarah, approached her in the hallway. "You made a good point in there," she said encouragingly. "It's just frustrating how they don't seem to value our input." Maya appreciated Sarah's support, but couldn't shake off the feeling that their voices were being silenced in favor of traditional hierarchies that prioritized doctors over nurses. This dynamic was not just about professional respect. It was about recognizing the integral role that every member of the healthcare team played in patient care. As days turned into weeks, Maya continued to witness instances of bias that affected not only her, but also other staff members from diverse backgrounds. One evening during a shift change, she overheard two doctors discussing a new hire, a young black male nurse who had just joined their team. "Do you think he'll be able to handle it?" one doctor scoffed. "I mean, he doesn't look like he has much experience." The other chuckled in agreement, reinforcing stereotypes that were all too familiar to Maya. Feeling compelled to speak up, Maya approached them after their conversation ended. "I think it's important to give everyone a fair chance based on their skills and qualifications, rather than assumptions about their backgrounds," she asserted firmly. The doctors exchanged glances but shrugged off her comments with dismissive laughter. "Oh, come on, Maya. We're just joking around," one of them replied nonchalantly. Maya walked away feeling disheartened, but resolute. It was clear that these attitudes were deeply ingrained in the culture at St. Michael's Hospital, a culture that needed to change if they were ever going to move forward as a cohesive unit. Despite these challenges, Maya found solace in her patients. Each day brought new opportunities to connect with individuals from all walks of life who relied on her expertise and compassion for healing. One particular patient stood out, a middle-aged woman named Mrs. Thompson, who had been admitted for surgery due to complications from diabetes. During their interactions, Mrs. Thompson often expressed gratitude for Maya's kindness and attentiveness. "You remind me so much of my daughter," she would say with tears in her eyes. "She's studying to be a nurse, too." Maya cherished these moments as they reinforced her purpose in healthcare, making a difference one patient at a time despite the challenges she faced within the hospital walls. One day, while attending to Mrs. Thompson post-surgery, Maya noticed something unusual during her assessment. The patient's blood pressure was fluctuating more than expected, and there were signs of potential complications that hadn't been addressed by the surgical team yet. "Maya," Mrs. Thompson said weakly, sensing something was off as she looked into Maya's eyes for reassurance. "Am I going to be okay?" "Let me check your vitals again," Maya replied calmly, while maintaining eye contact with Mrs. Thompson, a gesture meant to instill confidence amid uncertainty. After re-evaluating Mrs. Thompson's condition and documenting her findings meticulously, Maya decided it was crucial to escalate this issue immediately, despite knowing it might not be well received by some doctors who had previously dismissed her insights. Gathering her courage, she approached Dr. Roberts once more in his office later that afternoon. "Dr. Roberts," she began cautiously, "I believe we need to reassess Mrs. Thompson's condition urgently. I've noticed some concerning signs post-surgery." He looked up from his paperwork with an expression that seemed both annoyed and skeptical. "Maya, we just completed surgery. Let's give it some time before jumping to conclusions." "I understand," she replied evenly but firmly, "but I genuinely believe there may be complications arising from the procedure that we need to address now." Dr. Roberts sighed heavily before nodding reluctantly. Perhaps he sensed the urgency in her tone, or perhaps he was simply tired of arguing with someone who wouldn't back down easily. Together they returned to Mrs. Thompson's room, where Maya presented her findings clearly and confidently, while advocating for further tests, a move that ultimately led to timely intervention and stabilization of Mrs. Thompson's condition. As they left the room together after ensuring Mrs. Thompson was comfortable again, Dr. Roberts turned towards Maya with newfound respect etched across his face, an acknowledgement that perhaps he had underestimated her capabilities after all. "Good work today," he admitted begrudgingly before walking away without another word. In that moment, a small victory amidst ongoing struggles, Maya felt a flicker of hope ignite within her heart. Maybe change was possible after all, if they continued advocating for one another in pursuit of better patient care. Yet deep down inside, she knew this battle against bias wouldn't end overnight. It would require perseverance not just from herself, but from everyone who believed in equality within healthcare settings, an uphill climb toward dismantling systemic barriers, one step at a time. The turning point. As the winter months settled over Maplewood, St. Michael's Hospital was abuzz with anticipation. Rumors swirled about the upcoming announcement of the new chief surgeon, a position that had been the subject of much speculation among the staff. For Maya Johnson, this was not just another promotion. It represented a pivotal moment in her career and a potential turning point for the hospital culture. Maya had been working tirelessly, proving herself day in and day out. Her dedication to patient care and her ability to advocate for her colleagues had begun to shift perceptions among some of the staff. Yet she remained acutely aware that many still viewed her primarily as just a nurse, despite her extensive experience and skills. On the day of the announcement, excitement filled the air. The hospital had organized a gathering in the main conference room, where staff members from all departments were invited to hear who would take on the prestigious role of chief surgeon. Maya arrived early, her heart racing with a mix of hope and anxiety. She had heard whispers that Dr. Roberts was favored for the position, but she couldn't shake off the feeling that change was possible. As colleagues filed into the room, Maya exchanged smiles and greetings with those she had come to respect over her years at St. Michael's. Sarah, her fellow nurse, approached her with an encouraging grin. "No matter what happens today, you've already made such an impact here," she said warmly. Maya appreciated Sarah's support, but couldn't help but feel a twinge of doubt. Would anyone truly recognize her contributions? Would they finally see her as more than just a nurse? The room buzzed with chatter as Dr. Roberts took to the podium, his authoritative presence commanding attention. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice resonating through the room. "We are gathered to announce our new chief surgeon, a role that requires not only surgical expertise, but also leadership and vision. Maya held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest as she listened intently. After careful consideration and evaluation of all candidates, Dr. Roberts continued, I am pleased to announce that we have selected Dr. Maya Johnson as our new chief surgeon. A stunned silence enveloped the room before it erupted into applause and cheers from some of her colleagues who had recognized her capabilities long before this moment. Maya stood frozen for a moment, disbelief washing over her as she processed what she had just heard. Dr. Roberts extended his hand toward her, inviting her up to join him at the front of the room. As she walked forward, a wave of emotions surged through her, joy, relief, and an overwhelming sense of validation. Thank you all for your support, Maya said into the microphone, feeling both exhilarated and nervous as she faced her peers. I am honored to accept this position and look forward to working together to improve our practices and patient care. The applause grew louder as she spoke, filling her with newfound confidence. Yet amidst the celebration, Maya could sense an undercurrent of skepticism from some staff members who had not yet fully embraced this change. In the days following her appointment, Maya faced both excitement and resistance as she transitioned into her new role. While many welcomed her leadership with open arms, others were less enthusiastic, especially those who had previously held more traditional views about hierarchy within healthcare. One afternoon, during a departmental meeting to discuss upcoming surgical protocols, Maya presented innovative ideas aimed at fostering collaboration between nurses and surgeons. I believe we can enhance our surgical outcomes by implementing a more integrated approach where nurses are actively involved in preoperative planning, she proposed confidently. Dr. Roberts leaned back in his chair with an expression that suggested skepticism, while others exchanged glances filled with doubt. That's all well and good, Maya, he replied dismissively. But we need to focus on what really matters: surgical precision. Maya felt a familiar frustration bubbling within her, but reminded herself that change often met resistance. With all due respect, she countered firmly but respectfully, nurses play a critical role in patient outcomes before and after surgery. Their insights can significantly impact our success. The discussion continued with varying opinions being voiced around the table. Some supported Maya's perspective, while others clung tightly to traditional views that placed surgeons on a pedestal above nursing staff. As weeks passed, Maya worked diligently to bridge these gaps by facilitating workshops that emphasized teamwork among different departments, encouraging open dialogue between nurses and surgeons about their respective roles and responsibilities in patient care. During one such workshop, focused on communication strategies within surgical teams, Maya shared stories from her own experiences, highlighting moments when collaboration led to improved patient outcomes. I remember a time when I advocated for immediate intervention on a post-operative patient who was showing signs of distress, she recounted passionately. It was teamwork that saved that life, not just one person's skill. Slowly but surely, attitudes began to shift within some corners of St. Michael's Hospital. More staff members started recognizing the value of collaboration over hierarchy, a testament to Maya's unwavering commitment to fostering an inclusive environment where every voice mattered. However, not everyone was ready for this shift. There were still whispers behind closed doors questioning whether a nurse could truly lead surgical teams effectively. One evening after another long day at work filled with meetings and patient rounds, Maya found herself reflecting on these challenges while sitting alone in her office, a sanctuary amidst chaos where she could gather her thoughts. Just then, Sarah knocked softly before entering with 2 cups of coffee in hand, a gesture that always brightened Maya's spirits after exhausting days like this one. "Hey, thought you might need this," Sarah said cheerfully, as she handed over 1 cup before taking a seat across from Maya's desk. "Thanks, I really appreciate it," Maya replied gratefully while taking a sip from the warm cup. its aroma filling her senses with comfort. "You know," Sarah began cautiously after a brief pause, "I've heard some people doubting your abilities since you became chief surgeon." Maya sighed heavily at this revelation. It wasn't surprising given how deeply rooted biases often lingered beneath surface-level acceptance. "I'm trying my best to show them what we can achieve together," she admitted honestly, while looking out the window at the city skyline illuminated by twilight hues, a reminder that change takes time. "I believe in you," Sarah said earnestly, as she leaned forward slightly. Her eyes filled with sincerity. "You're already making waves here. Just keep pushing forward." Encouraged by Sarah's words of affirmation, Maya resolved once more not to let negativity deter her from pursuing progress within St. Michael's Hospital. After all, every step taken toward inclusivity represented hope for future generations within healthcare professions. In those moments shared over coffee amidst challenges faced daily, the bond between them strengthened further, a reminder that they were not alone in this journey toward change. They were part of something larger than themselves, an evolving narrative striving toward equality within healthcare settings across Maplewood. As winter transitioned into spring outside their window, the air filled with promise, the seeds planted through perseverance began sprouting slowly yet surely, each small victory paving pathways toward greater understanding among colleagues who once held rigid beliefs about hierarchy within medicine itself. Maya knew there would be obstacles ahead, but armed with resilience fueled by passion for patient care, she felt ready to face whatever came next on this transformative journey toward redefining leadership within St. Michael's Hospital. Impact on the team and patients. As spring blossomed in Maplewood, bringing with it a sense of renewal and hope, Dr. Maya Johnson settled into her new role as chief surgeon at St. Michael's Hospital. The initial excitement of her appointment had begun to wane, replaced by the reality of leading a diverse team of medical professionals while navigating the complexities of hospital politics. Yet with every challenge she faced, Maya remained steadfast in her commitment to fostering a culture of collaboration and respect. In her first few weeks as chief surgeon, Maya organized a series of meetings with her surgical team to discuss their goals and expectations. She wanted to create an environment where everyone felt valued and heard, a stark contrast to the previous hierarchy that often stifled communication. The first meeting was scheduled for a Tuesday morning, and Maya felt a mix of anticipation and nerves as she prepared her notes. As her colleagues gathered in the conference room, Maya greeted each one with a warm smile. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady but inviting. "I want us to have an open dialogue about how we can work together more effectively as a team." Dr. Roberts sat at the back of the room, arms crossed, his expression skeptical. Maya acknowledged him with a nod before continuing. "I believe that every member of our team has valuable insights to contribute, regardless of their role. Let's start by discussing what we can improve in our surgical processes." The discussion that followed was lively, yet constructive. Nurses shared their experiences regarding preoperative preparations, while surgeons offered suggestions on post-operative care. For the first time in a long while, there was a palpable sense of collaboration in the air, a feeling that everyone was working toward a common goal. Maya facilitated the conversation skillfully, encouraging quieter team members to share their thoughts. "I want to hear from everyone," she urged gently. "Your perspectives are crucial for our success." As the meeting concluded, Maya felt a surge of optimism wash over her. The team had begun to break down barriers, and she could sense that trust was starting to build among them. However, not all interactions were smooth sailing. In the days that followed, Maya encountered resistance from some staff members who were still clinging to traditional views about hierarchy in medicine. One particularly challenging moment occurred during a surgical procedure when an attending physician questioned her decisions in front of the entire team. "Maya, are you sure about this approach?" he asked sharply as they prepared for surgery on a high-risk patient. "We've always done it this way." Maya took a deep breath, reminding herself to remain composed under pressure. "I understand your concerns," she replied calmly, "but based on my assessment and recent studies on patient outcomes, I believe this approach will be more beneficial for our patient." The tension in the operating room was palpable as other staff members exchanged glances. Maya's confidence began to waver under scrutiny. However, she stood firm in her conviction. "Let's prioritize what's best for our patient," she added firmly, locking eyes with the attending physician. After a moment of hesitation, he relented with a curt nod. The surgery proceeded successfully, but Maya knew that challenges like these would continue to arise as she worked to establish her authority within the team. Each encounter tested her resolve, but also reinforced her determination to create an inclusive environment where every voice mattered. Outside the operating room, Maya continued to engage with patients and their families, her passion for patient care shining through every interaction. One day, while visiting post-operative patients on the surgical ward, she met Mr. Thompson, a retired schoolteacher who had undergone gallbladder surgery. "Dr. Johnson," he said with gratitude as she entered his room, "I can't thank you enough for taking such good care of me." His eyes sparkled with appreciation. "It's my pleasure, Mr. Thompson," Maya replied warmly as she reviewed his chart. "How are you feeling today?" "Much better. I really appreciate how you explained everything before my surgery. It made me feel so much more at ease," he said sincerely. Maya smiled at his words. Moments like these reminded her why she had chosen this profession, to make a positive impact on people's lives during vulnerable times. As weeks turned into months, word began to spread among patients about Dr. Johnson's compassionate approach and dedication to their care. More families expressed gratitude for her attentiveness and willingness to listen, an acknowledgement that fueled Maya's passion even further. However, amidst these successes lay ongoing challenges within the hospital culture itself, particularly regarding biases that still lingered among certain staff members who found it difficult to accept leadership from someone they perceived as just a nurse. One afternoon during lunch in the staff room, Maya overheard two doctors discussing her leadership style in hushed tones. "I just don't think she has what it takes," one doctor said dismissively. "She may have been good as a nurse, but leading surgeons is another story." Maya felt a pang of disappointment at their words, but chose not to confront them directly. Instead, she resolved to let her actions speak louder than their opinions. Determined not to let negativity deter her progress, Maya focused on building relationships within her team, encouraging mentorship opportunities between experienced surgeons and newer staff members, while emphasizing collaboration over competition. One day, during a surgical debriefing session after an especially complex procedure involving multiple specialties, Maya encouraged everyone involved, surgeons, anesthesiologists, nurses, to share their thoughts on what went well and what could be improved for future cases. "I believe we can learn so much from each other," she stated enthusiastically as they gathered around the table post-surgery, her eyes shining with passion for collective growth rather than individual accolades. To her surprise and delight, the discussion flowed freely as everyone contributed insights based on their unique perspectives. It became clear that this collaborative approach was fostering an environment ripe for innovation and improvement. As summer approached and St. Michael's Hospital prepared for its annual community health fair, a cherished tradition aimed at promoting wellness throughout Maplewood, Maya seized this opportunity to further engage both staff and patients in meaningful ways. She proposed an initiative where surgical teams would host informational sessions on preventive care practices related specifically to surgeries they performed regularly, empowering patients with knowledge while fostering connections between healthcare providers and community members. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Staff rallied behind Maya's vision as they recognized its potential impact beyond hospital walls, extending care into the community itself, a testament to what could be achieved when collaboration thrived within healthcare settings. On the day of the health fair, Maya stood alongside her colleagues at their booth, displaying educational materials while engaging visitors eager for information about surgical procedures and recovery processes. "Thank you all for coming," she greeted attendees warmly, her enthusiasm infectious as families gathered around, eager to learn more about maintaining their health post-surgery. As conversations flowed freely throughout the day, patients sharing stories about their experiences, while healthcare providers offered guidance, it became evident how far St. Michael's had come since Maya's appointment just months prior. Barriers were slowly breaking down as relationships strengthened between staff members across departments, all united by one common goal: improving patient care together. That evening, after wrapping up another successful day at the fair, filled with laughter shared among colleagues mingling with community members, Maya reflected on how much had changed since becoming chief surgeon. Not only had she grown personally, but so too had those around her who embraced this new collaborative spirit wholeheartedly. Yet even amidst these triumphs lay challenges ahead. Biases would not disappear overnight, but armed with resilience fueled by compassion, Maya felt ready to face whatever came next along this transformative journey toward equality within healthcare settings across Maplewood. As summer blossomed outside St. Michael's walls, the air filled with promise, the seeds planted through perseverance began sprouting slowly, yet surely. Each small victory paving pathways toward greater understanding among colleagues who once held rigid beliefs about hierarchy within medicine itself, a testament that change was indeed possible when driven by passion for patient care above all else. As summer unfolded in Maplewood, the atmosphere at St. Michael's Hospital was palpably different from the days when Dr. Maya Johnson first stepped into her role as chief surgeon. The once rigid hierarchies were beginning to soften, replaced by a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. Maya's commitment to fostering teamwork had not only transformed her immediate surgical team, but had begun to resonate throughout the entire hospital. The annual community health fair had been a resounding success, drawing in families from all over the city. Maya stood at their booth, surrounded by colleagues who were eager to share knowledge and engage with patients. The event had become a symbol of what could be achieved when healthcare providers worked together, breaking down barriers that had long existed. As Maya walked through the bustling fairgrounds, she felt a sense of pride swell within her. Patients approached her with gratitude, sharing stories of their recoveries and how her leadership had inspired them. "You've changed things here for the better," one patient remarked, his eyes shining with appreciation. "I feel like I'm actually being listened to." Maya smiled warmly, but she knew that while progress had been made, there was still much work to do. The journey toward equality and inclusivity in healthcare was ongoing, and she was determined to continue advocating for change. In the months that followed, Maya implemented regular feedback sessions where staff could voice their concerns and suggestions openly. These meetings became a safe space for dialogue, allowing nurses and surgeons alike to discuss their experiences without fear of judgment. Slowly but surely, more voices began to emerge from the shadows. Ideas flowed freely, and innovative solutions were born out of collaboration. However, not all challenges were easily overcome. Despite the positive changes, there remained pockets of resistance among some staff members who clung to traditional views about hierarchy and authority. One afternoon, during a surgical meeting, Maya encountered pushback from Dr. Roberts again when she proposed a new protocol aimed at enhancing patient safety. "I don't see why we need to change our current methods," he argued, crossing his arms defensively. "We've always done it this way." Maya took a deep breath, recalling the lessons she had learned about patience and perseverance. "I understand your concerns," she replied calmly. "But recent studies show that implementing this protocol can significantly reduce post-operative complications. Our priority should always be patient safety." The room fell silent as colleagues processed her words. After a moment of hesitation, another surgeon spoke up in support of Maya's proposal. "I think it's worth considering," he said thoughtfully. "If it can help our patients, we owe it to them to try." Encouraged by this shift in perspective, Maya continued to advocate for evidence-based practices that prioritized patient care over outdated traditions. Gradually, she noticed more colleagues beginning to embrace this collaborative mindset, an indication that change was indeed taking root. As summer transitioned into fall, St. Michael's Hospital celebrated its first annual Diversity in Healthcare Week, a week dedicated to recognizing and promoting diversity among staff and patients alike. Maya played a pivotal role in organizing events that highlighted the importance of inclusivity within healthcare settings. Workshops were held on cultural competency, addressing implicit biases in patient care, while encouraging staff members to share their own experiences related to diversity in medicine. The turnout exceeded expectations. Staff from all departments participated enthusiastically, eager to learn how they could contribute to creating a more inclusive environment. During one particularly impactful workshop, led by Maya herself, she shared her journey as a Black woman in medicine, highlighting both the challenges she faced and the triumphs she achieved along the way. "I want you all to know that your backgrounds and experiences matter," she said passionately, as she addressed her colleagues gathered around her in the conference room. "When we embrace our differences and work together as a team, we can provide better care for our patients, because they deserve nothing less." The response was overwhelmingly positive. Many staff members expressed gratitude for Maya's openness and vulnerability, recognizing how important it was to foster an environment where everyone felt valued, regardless of their background. As Diversity in Healthcare Week came to a close with an inspiring keynote speaker, a renowned physician advocating for equity in healthcare, Maya felt hopeful about the future of St. Michael's Hospital. Yet even amidst these successes lay challenges ahead. Biases would not disappear overnight, but armed with resilience fueled by compassion, Maya felt ready to face whatever came next along this transformative journey toward equality within healthcare settings across Maplewood. One evening after another long day filled with meetings and patient rounds, Maya found herself reflecting on how far she had come since her appointment as chief surgeon. Not only had she grown personally, but so too had those around her who embraced this new collaborative spirit wholeheartedly. In her quiet office, adorned with photographs of her family and mementos from patients whose lives she had touched over the years, Maya took a moment to breathe deeply, grateful for every lesson learned along this journey thus far. Just then, Sarah knocked softly before entering with 2 cups of herbal tea, a gesture that always brightened Maya's spirits after exhausting days like this one. "Hey, thought you might need some relaxation," Sarah said cheerfully as she handed over 1 cup before taking a seat across from Maya's desk. "Thanks. I really appreciate it," Maya replied gratefully while taking a sip from the warm cup, its aroma filling her senses with comfort. "You know," Sarah began cautiously after a brief pause, "I've seen so much change since you became chief surgeon. It feels like we're finally moving forward." Maya nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, progress was evident everywhere, from improved communication among surgical teams to increased patient satisfaction scores, reflecting their commitment toward holistic care practices. "I believe we're just getting started," Maya said confidently as they exchanged smiles filled with hope for what lay ahead. A shared vision, rooted firmly in compassion-driven healthcare practices, designed not only for today, but also for generations yet unborn. As autumn leaves began falling outside their window, the air filled with promise. The seeds planted through perseverance began sprouting slowly yet surely, each small victory paving pathways toward greater understanding among colleagues who once held rigid beliefs about hierarchy within medicine itself, a testament that change was indeed possible when driven by passion for patient care above all else. Reflecting on her journey thus far, Maya felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over her. Every challenge faced along this path had shaped not only who she was today, but also who she aspired to become, a leader committed wholeheartedly toward creating equitable spaces within healthcare settings across Maplewood and beyond. With renewed determination fueling her spirit, she resolved once more never again let negativity deter progress made thus far, instead embracing every opportunity presented along this transformative journey toward equality within healthcare settings everywhere, one step at a time.